So the map you just saw is called the Freelancing Freedom Map. It's the map that's in front of me right now. And this is the map that I've followed for the past 2 years to earn a few $100,000. Now, the reason I'm releasing this video now is because I run a school where I've taught over 1,000 people how to build apps without code. But I haven't really focused on the other side of that equation, which is turning the skills you've developed into a steady income. So before we get into it, I just want to make it clear that there are many paths you can take as a freelancer, but this is the path that I've taken, and it's the path that I've seen many others take, and it's the most assured, systemized, scalable way of generating consistent income as a freelancer. This is going to be tailored towards like app developers or website developers and designers, but it's applicable to really any sort of freelancing. Now, to be honest, I follow this map half as well as I should, but even so, it still allowed me to retire my pregnant fiance, to travel the world, to move us into a bigger apartment for the baby that's coming, to basically just live everyday life without stressing about money or bills or anything like that. So I feel very blessed to have that, and this is my way of giving back. Now, I want you to do yourself a favor, to block out all distractions, to grab a coffee, to sit down. We're going to go through this thing step by step, and I believe it has the potential to change your life just like it's changed mine. So let's get into it. The Freelancing Freedom Map contains 6 major sections. Section 1 is all about crafting a vision and specializing, because without these 2 things, we're a ship without a compass. Step 1 is creating a concrete vision of a stark future. And I know we're getting off in a little bit of a dark place here, but it's extremely important, and I want to get real with you for a second. I need you to imagine something. I need you to picture a version of your future that's not just unpleasant, but downright miserable. I'm talking about a dark, hellish place where you've allowed yourself to slip little by little down a slope you never saw coming. You didn't even realize it was happening until it's too late. See, it's easy to overlook the small, seemingly harmless decisions we make, but those little choices compound. Rock bottom is real, and you need to shine a light on the slippery slopes that lead there in order to avoid it. So take a minute to close your eyes and visualize it. 2, maybe 5 years from now, you're standing in that dark future and it's suffocating. You can't afford rent, the bills seem insurmountable, you've broken promises, you've lost control, and you have no idea how to get out of this mess. What would all that anxiety feel like? The stress, the constant pressure, what would it do to your spirit day after day? It's like that feeling in the pit of your stomach, the weight on your chest. You already know what I'm talking about. This isn't some nightmare that you can wake up from. This is what awaits you if you give in to your bad habits and fail to take action. Now let's add a layer to that. Imagine feeling like a failure because you knew you had more in you, but you never took action. You wasted your potential. What does that feel like? And who else suffers because you didn't step up? Think about the people in your life who matter most. Who are you letting down by staying in this stagnant, mediocre version of yourself? Whether it's your family, your friends, or your future self, someone pays the price for your inaction. And what about regrets, right? That's the final piece here. What regrets will sit with you when you look back? What's going to haunt you in the end? Because here's the brutal truth. Those regrets, they're not some far off possibility. They're waiting for you unless you decide to act. To dwell on thoughts like, why didn't I just go for it? Or I wish I just focused would be absolute torture. So you really need to take a minute to absorb all of this and treat it like a wake-up call. You need to shine a light on that dismal destiny now so you can avoid it later. Now, this exercise isn't about fear for the sake of fear. It's about clarity. You need to get clear on what you are running from so you can get even clearer on what you're running towards. Now, we'll get onto that in the next step, but for now, I need you to write down a dark future, make it real, make it something you never want to experience. That clarity will fuel your next steps and act as a driving force, a pushing force that you can combine with a pulling force, which is your dream destiny. And with that, you'll become unstoppable. So let's get onto that. Step 2 is creating a concrete vision of an ideal future. Now, we've seen the future you don't want, so now it's time to shift gears and focus on the one you do. I want you to visualize something different now. A future that you're not just okay with, but one you're genuinely excited about. Picture this, a life where you've unlocked your full potential, you're living with purpose, you're fulfilled, and you wake up each day with a sense of duty and excitement. Your habits serve you, not the other way around, and discipline no longer feels like a chore, it's just who you are. This is your North Star, your Polaris star, your dream destiny, and it's there to guide you, but only if you define it. So what does that future look like? What would it feel like to wake up every day knowing you took action? There's no more second guessing, no more wondering what might have been, just deep satisfaction that you went all in and it paid off. And who's looking at you in that future, admiring the person you've become? Maybe it's your family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers who have been inspired by your journey. Imagine those who've benefited from your growth and are grateful that you chose to become the best version of yourself. How does that make you feel? And let's go deeper. What legacy are you leaving behind in this dream destiny? Who were you able to help along the way? What impact have you made? You see, legacy isn't about big, flashy achievements. It's about consistent, meaningful contribution. In this future, you've built something that lasts, something that others can look up to and be inspired by. Think about the specific things you'd be proud of in this future. Not just the big milestones, but the small victories here and there. The moments when you pushed through the doubt, stayed disciplined, and saw the results of your effort. What are you grateful for in this ideal future? It's not just about empty material success. It's about the life you've created, the relationships you've nurtured, and the person you've become. Now, this isn't about dreaming just for the sake of dreaming. It's about having a clear, tangible vision that pulls you forward day by day, decision by decision. This vision is your fuel, and without it, you'll drift. But with it, you'll move with purpose. You'll be unstoppable. And when you contrast it with your dismal destiny, you'll have an endless supply of momentum and motivation. So take some time right now to write this vision down. Make it real, make it vivid. This is the future you're aiming for, and it's closer than you think as long as you keep your eyes on that North Star. So you need to define your dream destiny and let it guide you on your journey. But all of this comes at a cost, not just personally, but financially. So that's what we're going to move on to next. Step 3 is calculating exactly how much you need to earn in order to finance your dream destiny. So now that you've faced your dismal destiny and you've set your sights on your dream destiny, it's time to bring some numbers into the picture. This isn't just some vague goal or arbitrary number. It's the exact amount you need each week, month, and year to finance the dream destiny you've just defined. It's your freedom figure. So first, let's start with the important stuff. How much do you need to support your family? And I'm not talking about just scraping by. I mean really supporting them, providing not just security, but freedom, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life. How much do you need to know that everything's taken care of, that you're in control and you're able to provide for them day in and day out? Next, think about giving back. What causes matter most to you? How much would you like to donate to those causes, or to tithe, or to make a meaningful impact on the world around you? What's all that worth to you? Start thinking bigger than just your immediate surroundings. Now let's get to the cherries on top, the material and experiential stuff that will come as a happy side effect of providing value and fulfilling our potential. For example, what will it take to indulge in life's luxuries without batting an eye when the bill comes? What will it cost to move into your dream home, to get your dream car and travel the world without having to check your bank balance every 5 minutes? What would it take to start buying organic or grass-fed produce, whatever it is that's important to you? How often would you like to do that? List everything out in fine detail and find the literal costs of these things and tally them up on a monthly basis. Because once you've calculated the numbers, you've now got a tangible monetary target. See, what we're doing here is removing the guesswork. We're not leaving your dream life up to chance, hoping you'll make enough someday. No, we're defining the number to the dollar, whether it's confronting or not. So grab a calculator and start crunching the numbers. You'll need to know what it will take to finance your dream destiny. And don't shy away from it. Don't sugarcoat it. Get precise. This isn't some dream fantasy. It's a concrete goal, and the numbers you calculate are your ticket to making it real. And when you have that figure, write it down and let it serve as a barometer, a chart that you can use to monitor your progress. Now, before we move on, I want to make one thing very clear. Accumulating or hoarding money for its own sake is not and should not be the goal here. The goal is to help others and give back. We're not doing this out of greed because we idolize wealth. We're doing this because we want to earn enough so we don't ever have to think about money. The bottom line is that earning money is necessary, and taking ownership of this burden, putting the responsibility on your own shoulders and working hard to provide value for others so you can provide stability for those around you is a noble undertaking, and it should be treated as such. Money is just a tool. It should serve you, not the other way around. With that out of the way, let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is to specialize in something extremely specific. So at this point, it's time to make a decision, and a crucial one. This is where you choose your career path, your niche, the thing that you're going to specialize in and master. See, a lot of creatives and entrepreneurs struggle with this. We hate closing doors. We want to explore everything because everything seems exciting. But here's the thing, not choosing is a choice. And if you don't pick a door, you'll eventually lose the ability to choose at all. This isn't about closing off opportunities. It's about focusing on the right opportunities, the ones that are going to take you further, faster. Imagine walking through a door and being greeted by endless opportunities on the other side. That is your Narnian niche. That's what specialization in something extremely specific can do for you. It opens up a world of possibilities you never knew existed, but only if you commit. Now, I know it's tempting to stay broad, to keep your options open, but the truth is, being a generalist means you're easier to compare, you're easier to overlook, and you're easier to nickel and dime. Specializing is like selling a unicorn. Prospects have no idea how to price it because it's so rare and unique, so there are no comparisons to be made. They can't ask you for a proposal and then start shopping around because nobody offers what you offer or provides the service the way you provide it. Not only that, specializing makes you infinitely more referable. People can point to you and say, that's the person who does that specific thing better than anyone else. So how do you choose your niche? Well, you start by picking something you're familiar with. What tools do you already know inside and out? What market are you comfortable with? Now align that with an outcome you're passionate about delivering and a platform that suits that market and that deliverable. It's not about picking the flashiest, newest option. It's about picking the one you can excel in and day out. And the beauty of specializing is that it doesn't limit you, it amplifies you. When you're known for one specific thing, you attract clients who need exactly that. And suddenly, you're not competing with every other generalist out there. You're in a league of your own. That's the power of focus. So pick your door, step through it, commit to mastering that niche, and watch how opportunities flow your way. The world needs specialists now more than ever, and the sooner you embrace that, the sooner you'll unlock a level of success that is out of reach for those still trying to do it all. Trust me, focus isn't a limitation, it's a superpower, and it's about time you started using it. Step 5 is declaring everywhere that this is your sole focus. So now that you've made a decision and you've chosen your niche, it's time to own it. As I mentioned in step 4, the market doesn't want a jack of all trades anymore. They want a master of one. Clients are searching for deep expertise, for someone who knows their field, their goals, and their problems inside and out. That's where your power lies, because the more alternatives there are, the less power you have to carve out your own niche and command a premium price. So here's the truth. To truly stand out, you need to codify, define, and take ownership of your deliverable, your process, your systems, and your methodology. This isn't just about saying, I do X. It's about saying, here's exactly what I do and how I do it. It's the only thing I do, and this is why I'm the best at it. Your method becomes your brand, your signature, and it's what differentiates you from everyone else. Think about it. Now, I don't want to get too dark here, but for example, if you had a brain tumor, who would you prefer to perform your surgery? A local GP whose knowledge is a mile wide and an inch deep, or a world-renowned brain surgeon that has specialized in removing your exact type of tumor for the past 2 decades, and their patented process of diagnosing and treating your exact problem has led to more successful surgeries than any other surgeon. I think you get the point. Now, how do you declare this to the world? Well, you start with a simple, crystal clear one-liner that defines who you are, what you do, and how you do it. An XYZ statement. I do X for Y so they can Z. It should be clear enough that anyone who reads it or hears it immediately knows whether they need you or not. No room for ambiguity, no confusion, just pure, undeniable clarity. Once you've got that one-liner, shout it from the rooftops. Publish it everywhere on your website, social media, email signature, and any other platform where potential clients might find you. When you declare your purpose to the world, you stop being just another option and start becoming the authority in your niche. That's where the power shifts. Suddenly, you're not begging for clients, they're coming to you because you've made it clear that you're the best fit for their specific needs. And don't be afraid to stake your claim. The more precise you are about your focus, the more powerful you become. Generalists blend in, specialists stand out. And when you make this proclamation, the world will know exactly who you are and why you're worth every penny. So go ahead, own your niche. This is your proclamation of purpose. The moment you take control of your positioning and start leading with authority. But here's the catch-22. Now that you've declared it, you need to back it up. And that's what we're going to cover in the next section. Section 2 is about becoming a trusted authority by mastering your craft and creating evidence of expertise. Step 6 is honing your skills daily. So you've picked your niche and you've told the world, now it's time to live up to it. You have to support that claim, and that means working on your craft every single day. This is the march of mastery. So here's the thing, expertise isn't a destination. It's a process. It's about constant learning, refining, and pushing yourself to get better every single day. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind because the world keeps spinning. So you need to make it a habit, a non-negotiable part of your routine to create and to refine your skills daily. Think of it like this. You need to progress from unconscious incompetence, where you don't even know what you don't know, to unconscious competence, where you're not even aware of how gifted you are at your craft. In other words, what others find challenging or confusing, you find almost trivial. This is about becoming so familiar with your craft that it becomes second nature, but that only happens through repetition and focused effort. So here's a tip. In the beginning, one of the best exercises you can undertake is to simulate client work. Don't wait for the perfect project to land in your lap, just create your own. You need to build it out as if you were already getting paid for it. You need to turn those, hey, I wonder if that's possible moments into mini projects. Test things out. Push the limits of what you can do. Every time you hit a wall, find a way over it. Get resourceful. Get creative. The goal is to stretch your capabilities every day. And don't just copy what's out there. Put your own unique spin on it. Look at what's trending in your field and ask yourself, how can I make this my own? This is how you carve out your own space in your niche, not by mimicking, but by innovating. But here's where it's easy to get stuck. Overwhelm. Trying to do too much at once. So you need to drastically reduce and clarify the scope of every project you create. Keep it tight, keep it manageable and focused. It's better to do something small with excellence and speed than to take on something massive and get overwhelmed. Momentum matters. The more you do, the better you get and the more you enjoy the process itself. So ultimately, the march of mastery is about tinkering, exploration, satisfying curiosity, building domain expertise, and putting in the work every day without fail. This is where real expertise is forged, because the more you hone your skills, the more confident you become. And that confidence, that's what sets you apart. Step 7 is sharing your progress and your work. So you've been honing your skills daily, you're getting better, and your confidence is building. But here's the thing, nobody has seen what you're capable of, and nobody will unless you show them. Think of it like this, you can be the most talented painter in the world, but if no one has seen your paintings, nobody knows you're any good at all. People need to see proof of your abilities. They need to see you in action. You're not just creating a portfolio here, you're building a trail of evidence that tells them that you're worthy of paying attention to. What people want is to see consistency. They want to see you actively solving problems, tackling projects, and growing over time. They want to see the inner workings of your mind as you solve these problems, the reasoning behind the choices you make, and the logic and thought that you put into your work. This is infinitely more effective than publishing a static portfolio when it comes to building trust and establishing authority in your domain. Not only that, the more you publish, the more you stay top of mind with potential clients and collaborators. You're not just waiting for them to find you, you're putting yourself out there, actively creating opportunities, because every time you share your work, you increase your visibility, and with that, your credibility. And here's where the magic happens. When you start sharing your work consistently, you'll notice that the right clients will start finding you. The more content you produce, the more you pre-filter the clients who resonate with your approach. That's the power of building a public journey. They see how you think, how you solve problems, and how you approach your craft, and they'll start reaching out because they feel connected to your process. But there's another layer to this. Sharing your work doesn't just attract clients, it builds accountability. The more you put yourself out there, the more you hold yourself to a higher standard. And what you'll find is that when people are watching, you push yourself harder, you take things more seriously, and that kind of accountability fuels your growth even further. So don't keep your skills hidden. It's not about perfection, it's about transparency. Let people see the real journey and they'll trust you more for it. Remember, we're not just telling the world, I'm competent. You're proving it day by day, and that's what builds authority, trust, and eventually a following of people who believe in what you do. So start building your Chronicles of Competence because the world is waiting to see what you can do. Step 8 is picking up a few certifications. This is, in all honesty, probably the least important step in the entire process, but it's worth including so you're aware of it and can use it to your advantage. And the basic idea here is that after sharing your work and building some credibility, you can add another layer of authority to your expertise with certifications and awards. Think of certifications as military badges. Each one is a symbol, a testament to the dedication you've put into mastering your craft. Now, they're not going to win clients on their own, far from it, actually, but they will quietly serve as proof that you know what you're doing. It's like wearing a Patek Philippe to a meeting. It's not going to do the work for you, but it will give your potential client the impression that you've put in the time, the work, and the effort to achieve something meaningful in your area of expertise. So start by focusing on certifications that are directly aligned with your niche. Look for those that hold weight in your field, whether it's a specific platform, a tool, or a process that you use every day. These badges show that you're not only a specialist, but that you're officially recognized as one by industry-leading platforms. It's about signaling that you've got the credentials to back up your expertise. And you don't have to stop at certifications. Competitions, events, and challenges are another great way to earn recognition. Participate in things that push your skills to the limit, that force you to step up and showcase what you can do under pressure. Now, winning or placing in these events isn't about the trophy itself. It's about being seen as one of the top experts in your field. So even just participating builds your network, adds to your credibility, and could lead to more clients because there's almost always a subset of viewers that resonate with your approach far more than whoever places above you. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but please don't get carried away here. We all know of that person who's perpetually enrolled in a course or a program, stacking certificates and credentials, but they never actually do anything meaningful with their skills. So gather a few of these certifications, awards, and recognitions and treat them as a way of building credibility, but don't fall into the trap of becoming an expert on paper with nothing tangible to show for it. You're much better off tinkering away like I mentioned earlier, or helping others, which is what I'm going to cover next. Step 9 is to educate and help others freely. So you've been honing your skills, sharing your work, and stacking up a few certifications here and there. Now it's time to help others by giving back. This is where you step into the role of a knight of knowledge, freely educating and helping others in your community. Here's why this is so powerful. When you teach, you don't just reinforce your own knowledge, you deepen it. Producing content and sharing your insights forces you to clarify your thoughts, making you a sharper, more effective expert. The more you teach, the more you master the material, because explaining it to others demands a level of understanding that goes beyond just knowing about a subject. It's about owning that subject. There's a saying that goes, the more you give, the more you get, or give and you shall receive. And in the world of freelancing, that couldn't be more true. By freely sharing what you know, you're positioning yourself as a trusted resource. People start to look to you for answers, and that's where the real authority is built. When you help others without asking for anything in return, you naturally rise to the top as a go-to person in your niche. And the best part, you're not just impacting individuals, you're building a legacy. You see, when you teach and share and provide value, you're creating a body of work that lives on, helping both your peers and your potential clients. It's like leaving behind breadcrumbs that lead potential clients straight to you when they need help or guidance. So start by producing content that educates, whether it's videos or tutorials or free resources. Help out in forums, social media, and communities to reach a broader audience. When you show up consistently in these spaces, offering genuine, helpful advice, people notice, and then they start to see you as an authority because you're not just talking about your expertise, you're demonstrating it by helping others. And don't worry about giving away too much. Like I said, the more you give, the more trust you build. And trust is the most valuable currency in any business. When potential clients see that you're willing to share valuable insights without holding back, they know that if they hire you, they're going to be getting even more. That's how you create a reputation as someone who delivers value at every level. In fact, teaching is one of the best ways to attract clients who are aligned with your philosophy and your approach. They see the content, they resonate with your ideas, and they come to you already trusting your expertise. This means fewer objections, smoother sales conversations, and clients who are genuinely excited to work with you. So embrace your role as a knight of knowledge. Share your insights freely, help others grow, and in turn, you'll solidify your position as a true authority in your niche. By consistently delivering value, you're not only impacting those around you, but building a legacy rooted in contribution. The more you help others freely without expectation, the more you receive in return. Section 3 is all about collecting leads with an evergreen inbound funnel and an authentic outbound strategy. Step 10 is setting up your inbound marketing funnel. So now that you've established yourself as an authority and you've shared your knowledge, it's time to set up a system that continuously works for you, your Evergreen Nets. What are these nets? Well, they're just your Chronicles of Competence and your educational content with a call to action attached to them. This is all you need for your inbound marketing funnel. And once they're in place, they'll bring in leads like there's no tomorrow. And here's the beauty of this system. Each piece of content you create, whether it's a post, a tweet, a video, or anything else, is like a permanent net you've cast out into the world. It doesn't disappear after you hit publish. It stays there, ready to catch leads and opportunities long after you've moved on to the next thing. Every piece of content is an asset that works for you 24/7, capturing the attention of people who need exactly what you offer. So where do you cast these nets? Well, the best places to cast them at the moment are platforms like YouTube, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. These are the fast-moving rivers of content where people are constantly searching for solutions, entertainment, and education. Determine which rivers bring in the biggest fish and concentrate your efforts there. And once you start catching fish, once leads start coming in, don't get complacent. You need to nurture and maintain those nets, create more content, and improve what's already working so you can refine your approach over time. Remember, the goal here is to set up an evergreen system, a funnel that keeps working long after you've put in the initial effort. That's the power of content marketing. It doesn't just bring in leads once, it brings them in, day out, month after month. So start thinking strategically about where to set your nets. Focus on platforms that align with your strengths and where your ideal clients are most active. Now, one thing to note is that some forums and communities have rules related to self-promotion. So it's important that you respect those rules and avoid posting blatant self-promotion. However, building a name and reputation for yourself within these communities will inevitably pique the interest of other members. And if you have a CTA or website in your bio or profile, they'll naturally click through and engage you if they're interested. So the bottom line here is to create content with calls to action that add value and showcase your expertise. Let your nets do the work of capturing leads in perpetuity. This is how you build a sustainable flow of inbound opportunities. Set your nets and let them catch the fish for you. Step 11 is identifying and engaging ideal prospects with an authentic outbound strategy. So now that you've cast your nets, it's time to go on the offense. We need to make some money and land some clients as soon as possible. And the fastest way to do this is with outbound sales. So you need to become a master angler, carefully spotting, reeling in, and landing ideal prospects for your business. So logically, your first task is to figure out who your ideal prospect is. Now, you should already have a good idea of who they are if you've clearly defined your Narnian niche, but you may need to break that down even further so you can go after specific subsets of that group. For example, if you help small business owners streamline their operations and make more money with custom software built in Glide, well, what sort of businesses are you going to target first? Or if you build highly optimized landing pages that help nail technicians triple their bookings, what locations are you going to target first? What are their pain points? What makes them the perfect fit for your solution? The clearer you are about who you want to work with, the easier it will be to find them. So next we need to think about where they actually live from a digital perspective. Are they on LinkedIn, scrolling through X, or hanging out in industry-specific forums? Once you know where they are, pick a lure that speaks directly to their needs and interests. This could be a personalized email, a social media post, a reply to their comment, or even a direct message. The key is to engage them in a way that feels personal, relevant, and specific to them, because nobody likes irrelevant, unsolicited sales BS. So once you've identified your prospects and you've found where they swim, it's time to get them interested by jigging the lure. You need to get their attention and pique their curiosity. This could be a well-crafted subject line in an email or a catchy first sentence in a DM, something that makes them pause and think, this person might actually have something valuable for me. Then, after you've got their attention, it's time to set the hook. Your initial message or email needs to be strong enough to demand a response and to demonstrate your expertise right off the bat. So whether it's a Loom video explaining how you can help or a direct message with an idea that came to mind when you came across their profile, have a clear and simple and logical reason for reaching out. Finally, once you've set the hook, reel them in. This is where you follow up, stay consistent, and guide them towards booking a call. Demonstrate your expertise, but more importantly, have a clear and compelling call to action to make it easy for them to take the next step with you. Mastering this process is about precision and consistency. You're not throwing out random bait hoping for the best or blasting out cold emails to people who are not interested at all. You're engaging with intention. By identifying the right prospects, crafting messages that resonate, and following up with purpose, you'll find yourself landing clients who are perfectly aligned with your strengths. So embrace your role as the master angler. Find your ideal prospects, set the hook, and reel them into your business with confidence and clarity. Step 12 is to embrace the follow-up, patch your nets, and change your lures. By this point, you've identified your ideal prospects and have even started reeling some in. But here's where a lot of people drop the ball. They fail to patch their nets, they don't adjust their lures, and worst of all, they neglect the follow-up. Let's start with patching your nets, your inbound funnel. Now, no system is perfect, and potential clients will slip through the gaps all the time. So before anything else, you need to ensure you've optimized your funnel. This means reviewing every aspect of your process. Is your landing page clear and compelling? Do you have a strong and clear call to action that encourages prospects to take the next step? Is your follow-up system in place with automated reminders or personalized check-ins? Whether it's optimizing your funnel or refining your email sequences or automating touch points, the goal is simple. Make sure no leads fall through the cracks, because everyone who enters your funnel should have a clear path towards booking a call with you. Persistence here is key. Just because you don't catch a fish straight away doesn't mean your funnel isn't working. It often takes multiple touch points. Maybe an initial message followed by reminders or value-driven content that keeps them engaged. Some prospects will need more time and more interactions before they say yes, and that's normal. Stay on top of them with gentle nudges, updates, or added value to remind them that you're still there when they're ready to act. Out of sight, out of mind. So stay visible, stay consistent. Now, let's talk about changing the lure in your outbound efforts. Sometimes the reason you're not getting bites isn't because the fish aren't interested, it's because your approach isn't resonating. Maybe your initial message isn't hitting the right pain points, or your offer isn't as enticing as it could be. Now, when that happens, it's time to switch things up. Experiment with new messaging, test different subject lines in your emails, or try a more personalized outreach approach, like recording a quick video to introduce yourself and using their actual name instead of sending another text-based message. The goal here is to see what grabs their attention, and once you find what works, double down on that strategy. Outbound is all about refinement. You tweak and test and adapt until you find the winning formula, and then you do it day in, day out. Now, don't just chase after the big fish. Sometimes it's the smaller clients who open the door to larger opportunities down the road. So maybe you start with a modest project, but over time you build trust and get invited to work on bigger, more lucrative projects. Or perhaps a small client knows someone who can introduce you to your next big opportunity. Never underestimate the ripple effect of smaller wins. They often lead to much bigger things. Also, look for patterns. If you've successfully landed a client in a specific industry or niche, see if there are others like them that you can target. Once you have momentum in a particular area, that momentum can snowball. Sometimes one win can unlock an entire market if you focus on similar businesses and industries. So ride that wave and refine your approach so you can resonate even more with that particular niche. Lastly, stay patient and stay persistent. There will always be days when nothing seems to work, when nothing is biting, and that's okay. You need to keep going, you need to keep following up, and you need to keep refining your approach. Markets shift, clients take time to make decisions, and not every opportunity will pan out right away. But the more consistent you are, the better your results will be over time. So make sure you're patching your net by optimizing your inbound funnel, tightening your calls to action, and automating your follow-ups. And don't forget to switch up your lure every now and again by refining and tweaking your outbound messaging to attract the right clients. Persistence is what separates the good from the great, and the more you embrace the pursuit, the more opportunities you'll start landing. Now here's the key. All of your inbound and outbound efforts should be optimized for one thing, and that's what we'll cover next. Section 4 is about converting leads by embracing the Hippocratic sales method. Step 13 is directing all leads to a single conversion point. Because if all roads lead to Rome, then all leads need to be led to a Hippocratic sales call. Now, at this point, you've been gathering leads through your outbound and inbound systems, and your goal should be to get the majority of these leads to book a call with you. On this call, which will last anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes, you're not selling or pitching them. All you're trying to do is accurately diagnose their situation and evaluate whether or not they are a good fit for you. And that's really the core mindset shift you need to make here. This is not a sales call, it's a consultation. You need to literally think of this like a doctor's appointment, not a pitch where you're up on stage tap dancing in front of them, hoping to impress them. Your job is to diagnose, not sell. And when you take this approach, the pressure to close them fades away, and what's left is a genuine, value-driven conversation that builds trust. When you detach yourself from the outcome, that's where the magic happens. Now, we'll get into the specifics of how to conduct a Hippocratic sales call in the next few steps. But for now, here's what you need to know. First, you need to establish the rules of engagement early so you can win the polite battle for control before it becomes an issue. If you don't, the client will boss you around and try and dictate how the rest of the engagement will unfold. This is exactly what we don't want. You're the expert and you're the one leading the call, but you don't do this by patronizing them or saying something stupid like, "I'm the boss here." You do this by plainly stating how the call will proceed and then by asking questions. The goal here is to get them talking, to uncover their pain points and demonstrate that you understand their situation, perhaps even better than they do. So the more you do this, the more they'll trust you. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but leading the conversation often means listening more than you talk. In fact, it almost always means that. Clients don't need to hear you talk endlessly about how great you are. They need to feel heard. They need to believe you understand their pain and have the solution and can close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. So ask questions, listen deeply, and approach the call with the confidence of someone who's done this 100 times, 1,000 times. You need to be totally detached from the sale. You're here to diagnose, understand, and determine if there's a fit. That's it. If there is, you move on to the next steps. This is the key to success. This is how you create long-term, successful client relationships. Now, let's move on to the actual structure of the call. Step 14 is to diagnose and reiterate their pains. So now that you brought your prospect onto a Hippocratic sales call, it's time to dig deep and uncover what's really going on. This is where inquisitive probing comes into play. The key here is to get to the heart of their problems and make sure they feel understood, not just on a surface level, but down to the root of their pain. Because when you do this, you create a bond of trust, and that's what moves the conversation forward naturally. Start by using direct, open-ended questions to uncover the true reason for their visit. So you can ask them something like, "So what made you join the call today?" Notice how this question gently invites them to open up about the specific challenges while also giving them space to explore their thoughts. This is your chance to explore the core issues behind their decision to reach out. Often the problems they come with are just symptoms of something deeper. So your job is to help them uncover that. This isn't about rushing through questions. It's about listening carefully and asking thoughtful questions so they really open up. And once you start to peel back the layers, go even further. Ask them to expand with statements like, "Can you expand on that?" Ask them about their past efforts to solve the problem. Ask them what they've tried before and why that didn't work. See, understanding what's failed in the past can help them avoid repeating the same mistakes, but it also gives you insight into how serious they are about finding a real solution. Were they just dabbling, or have they actually been committed to fixing this issue? Now, as they answer, listen carefully for the secondary and tertiary effects of their problem. Often, they're not just dealing with the direct issue, they're dealing with ripple effects. So maybe the stress of their problem is impacting their personal life, or maybe it's costing them more than just money, it's costing them time, focus, and energy. This is where you say something like, "Is this affecting any other areas of the business?" With this, you're not just diagnosing the problem, you're diagnosing the pain it's causing across the board. And once you've gathered all this information, it's time to reiterate their issue accurately and concisely. This is a powerful moment because when you can reflect their problem and their pain back to them in a clear and precise way, sometimes even better than they could have done it themselves, they feel extremely understood. But it also stings a little. So this is when we know we've found the root of the problem. Now, you need to let the weight of their issue settle on them. You don't want to rush through this part or tell them it's not a big issue. Clearly and concisely restate the core problem, the failed past attempts, and the impact it's having on their life or business. Hearing their own problem laid out clearly makes them realize how urgent it is to fix. And this is when they start looking to you as the solution, not just an option. This is inquisitive probing at its best, asking the right questions, listening deeply, and guiding the conversation to a point where they can see without a doubt that they really need a solution. And now they're ready to move forward with you because you didn't just offer a quick fix, you offered understanding and clarity. From here, it's about transitioning to the next phase of the conversation. But by now, you're honestly already halfway there. You've done the work of diagnosing, and now you're in a position to offer the cure. But before we prescribe a treatment plan, we need to get the full picture. So that's what I'm covering next. Step 15 is getting the full picture. So now that you've uncovered the core of their pain in inquisitive probing, it's time to zoom out and get the full picture. This is where holistic assessment comes into play. You're not just diagnosing a single issue, you're evaluating their entire situation to understand where they are now, where they want to be, and what's missing in between. Start by having them walk through their current approach step by step. So you can say something like, "Okay, and just so I have a crystal clear picture of your current process, can you explain step by step how you're currently handling this?" Let them explain the systems, the strategies, or process they're currently using. Because as they talk, you'll start to see the gaps appear. This is where their efforts are falling short and why their current method isn't solving the problem. This detailed exploration not only gives you insight into the problem, but also shows them just how much you're paying attention. It's like shining a spotlight on every part of their business or project that's misaligned. Next, shift the conversation to what their perfect solution would look like. Something along the lines of, "Now, when you joined the call, Steve, did you have an ideal solution in mind? In other words, if we can build you an app that does exactly what you need, what would it actually do for you?" This helps them visualize their ideal outcome because it's often the case that they've been so focused on fixing what's broken that they haven't had time to think about what a truly optimized future or solution would be. Your job is to draw that vision out of them. Why? Because it gives you a clear target to aim for, and now you know what success looks like to them. So as they describe this solution, you'll want to subtly highlight and reiterate the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. So you might say something like, "So at the moment it looks like your current solution is X, but in an ideal world you'd have a solution that does Z. Does that sound about right?" This is a critical moment. You don't need to be harsh or critical, just factual. The more clearly they see the gap, the more they'll realize they need you to help bridge it. Once they've confirmed your understanding, it's time to state that you'd like more context. So you can ask them questions like, "So Steve, can you tell me a bit more about your business and where you want it to be in the next 2 to 3 years?" And the reason I ask is because I'd really like to get a concrete idea of how our solution would actually slot into the business as a whole. This shows that you're not just focused on a quick fix, but on understanding the full scope of what's happening and setting them up for long-term success. Once they've taken you through their business, it's time to gently transition. So you can state something like, "Well, Steve, from what I've heard so far, I'm definitely confident we can resolve this, but if it's cool with you, what I'd like to do now is give you a quick rundown of exactly what we do and how I think we can help, and you can let me know if that sounds like a good fit. How does that sound?" Here, you've let them know that you can solve their problem, but you've added a caveat by saying that you want to ensure that they're a perfect fit before moving forward. So this adds a sense of exclusivity and keeps the control in your hands. You're not desperate for their business, you're discerning, and that makes them value your expertise even more. In the holistic assessment, you're not just getting details, you're showing that you care enough to understand the whole situation. That's what sets you apart from other providers who might just offer a one-size-fits-all solution. By the time you finish this step, the prospect should feel that you have a deep understanding of both their problem and their desired outcome, and they'll be eager to hear how you plan to close that gap. Now, with the full picture in view, you're ready to move on to the next step and outline your solution with confidence. Step 16 is ensuring they're a good fit. So at this point in the call, you've done a thorough assessment and have a clear picture of the prospect's problem and their desired outcome. You've juxtaposed those two things and position yourself as the bridge between that gap. Now it's time to ensure that they're not just a good fit for you, but that you're a good fit for them. And this is where you set benevolent boundaries. So first things first, the only way you can know if they're a good fit is if you've clearly defined your Narnian niche. If you haven't done that, you're wasting your time. So assuming you have, it's time to summarize your business in a short, precise, and compelling way. Now, throughout this explanation, you need to dynamically insert references to their project. This is a little tough to understand conceptually, so here's a rough example of how you might do this. The transition would be something like, "Well, Steve, from what I've heard so far, I'm definitely confident we can resolve this, but if it's cool with you, what I'd like to do now is give you a quick rundown of exactly what we do and how I think we can help, and you can let me know if that sounds like a good fit. How does that sound?" And when they say yes, you continue with something like this. "Okay, cool. So Lowcode is an app development agency, and we focus on one thing and one thing only, and that is building custom software and automations for businesses so they can streamline their operations and make more money. Now, every business I deal with, whether it's an international yacht brokerage or a local wine wholesaler, they all have different pain points, headaches, or inefficiencies that they want to get rid of. And the beauty of building custom software is that it fits their business like a glove. So there's no unnecessary fluff or complexity. It's the perfect fit every time. So in your case, we'd be building an app that totally streamlines and systemizes the way you do X. Now, because we've decided to specialize exclusively in building custom software for businesses, we've actually been able to develop and codify what we call our project delivery pipeline. And this is a pipeline that allows us to go from idea to live app in as little as 6 weeks without cutting corners or making compromises. So in your case, this means you'll have a working version of your app in as little as probably 2 weeks, with the full app up and running in as little as 6 weeks. But in my opinion, what's really cool is that because the time it takes to go from idea to reality is essentially nothing, and we can integrate things like advanced AI with the flick of a switch, it's actually very easy for us to upgrade and evolve your app as your business grows so you can continue to optimize your day to day. Now, in terms of investment, our projects usually range from $20,000 down to about $7,000 on the low end. But as a rough guideline, based on our conversation so far, I can see a project coming in at about the $9,000 or $10,000 range. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of who we are and what we do. And like I said, I think we're a great fit. So would you like to hear what the next steps are if we end up working together? And that's when you transition to the resolution roadmap. Now, it was a little funny just talking to a screen trying to emulate an actual call, but I'm sure you can see how powerful that is, right? We've not only summarized our business in a concise and compelling way, we've used NLP techniques to future pace them and clarify exactly what it's going to take in order to relieve their pain. And if they say yes, they'd like to hear the next steps, the transition into their treatment plan is so smooth that it feels like a natural next step. So that's exactly what we're going to cover next. Step 17 is outlining a clear path towards relief. So now that you've confirmed that they're a good fit through Benevolent Boundaries, it's time to give them a clear, actionable plan that leads them from their current struggles to their desired outcome. This is where your confidence, process, and expertise really come into play. So first, you need to make a transition in your tone, right? You spent the early part of the conversation listening and asking thoughtful questions. Now it's time to switch to a tone that's more decisive, confident, and authoritative. And you do that essentially through the language you use. So this shift signals to the prospect that you've heard their pain, you understand it, and now you're ready to lead them out of it. You're no longer exploring options, you're presenting the solution. And a good client always relinquishes control when they're confident that you understand their pain and you know how to solve it. So start by describing your method or your process step by step, and make it clear that this is not the first time you're solving this type of problem. Use language like, here's what will happen next. Your goal is to convey that the consistency of your outcomes comes from the strength of your process. It's not about promising them a magic bullet. It's about the exact steps you're going to take to relieve them of their pain. So here's an example of what that would look like. The transition would be something like, and like I said, I think we're actually a great fit. So do you want to hear what the next steps would be if we work together? And when they say yes, you continue with something like this. Okay, awesome. So what's going to happen after the call is I'm going to send you 3 documents. The first is going to be a simple agreement to kick things off. The second is going to be a clear scope of work outlining exactly what I'm going to build for you. And the third is just a 50% invoice to get the project started. Now, once that's all handled and it's all settled, I'll dive right into developing your app, and I'm going to keep you updated throughout the entire process. If I do need more information, I'm going to request it early so we can avoid delays down the track. But once I'm confident I've got everything I need, I'm just going to build the app out in phases and check in with you at the end of each phase if I want to share some updates or I need a little bit of feedback from you. Now, as a general guide, each phase takes anywhere from 5 to 7 days to complete. And once I've got the app fully built and you're completely satisfied with it, I'll create a series of step-by-step guides and videos for you and your team so you can all hit the ground running and there'll be no confusion. And of course, once I've handed over the app, I'm going to give you an extra week of free support to ensure it's running like a well-oiled machine. So all of this will be outlined in the scope of work I send later, but that's a quick overview of how it would actually work if we decide to work together. Do you have any questions? Now, again, it's kind of hard to emulate the idea of being on a call, but you can see how it works. That's when you transition, once you finish that, that's when you transition to objection handling and actually closing the sale, which at this point should literally be the easiest part of the entire call. Now, with objections, all you need to do is gratify their question, get clarity on exactly what they're asking if you need to, answer concisely, and then briefly justify your answer by stating its role in helping them achieve their goal. So if someone asks you why you build your apps in Glide instead of some other software, or why you use Webflow to develop your websites, you can respond with something like this. That's a great question, and actually a lot of clients, previous clients have asked the same thing. To be honest, the reason we use Glide is because I've actually tried everything else, and I mean I've literally tried every other low-code solution on the market. And what I found is that Glide, to put it bluntly, is the single best tool that currently exists when it comes to building custom software. So this is what I've specialized in. This is what I've decided to master. And from our call today, I can pretty clearly see that this is exactly what you need from a platform perspective. So that's why we use Glide. That's it. Do not expand on your answer. The more you babble, the more chances you have of saying something that doesn't resonate with them. So state your answer in a simple, matter-of-fact way. Justify your answer with a quick sentence or two, tie it into their situation, and leave it at that. Go silent if you need to. Don't talk after you give them the answer. Then, once they no longer have questions, transition to the close with something like this. Okay, cool. So, look, Steve, as I said, once we wrap up this call, what I'm going to do is prepare those documents for you. But before I do, I just want to quickly recap a few things. And that's when you reiterate and get an oral agreement on the time frame, budget, preferred contact method, and company name to be used on the contracts. By securing an oral agreement on the call, you've solidified the seriousness of the partnership, making sure everyone is on the same page moving forward. At this stage, the client should feel a sense of excitement and relief. They've been carrying the weight of this problem for a while, but now with your resolution roadmap laid out, they can see a way forward. The clarity, the confidence, and the structured approach you've given them has allowed them to relax, and they know they're in good hands. Now, as a quick note, the reason we don't immediately hard close them on the call and ask for payment is because there's a scope of work that we need to prepare. And this scope of work is directly tied to our price. So unless we have a totally productized offer, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to ask for payment then and there when the scope is yet to be defined. But you're more than welcome to experiment with this. Anyway, now that you've reached an oral agreement and ended the call, it's time to finalize everything with some contracts and some invoices. So let's get on to that. Step 18 is sending and collecting signed documents and payment. Now that you've laid out the resolution roadmap and you've secured a verbal agreement, it's time to formalize everything with the covenant of coin, the moment you lock in the partnership with signed agreements and upfront payment. And the first thing I want to explain is how you actually price your projects, because in the last step, I gave you the framework for positioning your price in a ballpark way, but I didn't actually reveal how you arrive at that price and the methodology behind it. So let's knock that one over now. When we think about pricing, it's crucial to understand that price is more than just a number. It's a signal. Charging more upfront positions you as a premium service provider. It tells the market that you deliver great results. If you can't sell at a higher price, it generally means the market doesn't see you as meaningfully different from your competitors, which means you need to rethink your positioning and revisit everything we covered in section 2 about becoming an authority. Now, by charging more, you're actually setting yourself up to deliver a better result and provide better service, because the resources you gain allow you to focus on doing your best work. It's not that better service will lead to higher prices later on. It's the reverse, which is another core mindset shift you need to make. A higher price fuels better service. And one pitfall many freelancers fall into is they rely on a formula-based pricing. So the problem with that approach is that the clients can use that exact same formula against you to try and chip away at your price. So instead, use big round numbers. When you present a round number like $10,000, it's not up for debate or negotiation based on hours or resources. It's a flat fee based on value, because that's just how you price your projects. This shifts the conversation from one of costs to one of results and actually aligns your incentives with theirs. If you're on an hourly rate, the incentive there is to take longer to complete the project, which makes zero sense for both parties. Now, premium pricing also serves another purpose. It creates a level of commitment and filters out problem clients that are likely to haggle, delay payments, or push boundaries. High-ticket clients are way easier to work with than clients who expect you to deliver unrealistic results for pennies on the dollar. If your prices are low, clients clearly don't think your work is important and often feel comfortable ignoring your advice or taking too long to provide feedback. And often when we undercharge, we actually end up resenting the work, and every client call or correction or tweak becomes a burden. But with a high price, we're motivated to pick up the phone. We're motivated to record those update videos. We want to solve their problems and we want to give them our full attention. It lets us correct mistakes without feeling like we're losing out. So once you've taken everything you've learned about their pain and their desired solution on the call, and you've detailed it out in a scope of work, which by the way is why it's so important to record the call, you need to come up with a price that sits at the lower end of the range you hinted at on the Hippocratic sales call. So if you said your projects range anywhere from $25,000 down to $7,000 on the low end, price the project at about $9,000. The reason this is the perfect number is because if you anchored the $25,000 correctly on the call and you let it sink in for a couple of seconds before continuing to speak, $9,000 is going to seem like a bargain. Now, when you're new to all of this and you don't have many clients under your belt, you need to lower that price range you use on the call. So for example, you might start with a range of $7,000 down to $3,000 and then come in at $4,000 for the first few clients. Anchoring and setting up your price this way works at any price level. but don't go too low or you'll run into all the issues I mentioned earlier. And as a final general rule, if you're not at least a little bit nervous when you reveal the price, your price is too low. In other words, if you're not losing clients on price every now and again, it's a clear sign that you're not charging enough. And that's okay. In fact, we should invite clients who need a lower price to work with someone else. This is why we set benevolent boundaries to protect both us and them from getting into an engagement that just isn't right. There's no need to apologize for charging more. Our fees are fair compensation for the value and expertise we bring to the table. Every client on our roster deserves our best work, but the only way to do that is if we have enough profit margin to make the whole operation possible. So once you've scoped out the work in a detailed way, explaining everything you're going to do in a clear and concise fashion, and you've arrived at a price that you feel is fair, but you're slightly nervous about, you need to export the general service agreement, the scope of work, and the first invoice for 50% as PDFs and send them over. In this email, you can make it clear that you won't be lifting a finger until payment is made, in a polite and professional way, of course. So a simple line like, if you believe we need to tweak the scope of work, please let me know. I can update it today and send a revised copy along with an adjusted invoice if needed. But either way, once you've reviewed/signed the docs and payment has been made, I'll commence work. And once that 50% invoice is paid, congratulations, you've landed yourself an awesome client. Now let's talk about how to actually onboard the client smoothly and kickstart the project. Section 5 is about delivering on your promise in a way that delights and surprises your clients. Step 19 is onboarding your client. So now that you've secured the covenant of coin with signed agreements and an initial payment, it's time to begin the partnership off on the right foot. Onboarding a client is crucial because it sets the tone for everything else that follows. This is where you show them that they've made the right choice and that the project will run smoothly. This is what Effortless Embarkation is, a seamless, professional, and positive onboarding experience that starts the relationship with clarity and confidence. First, start with a clear and positive welcome email. Your goal is to let them know exactly what happens next. In this email, lay out the initial steps and reinforce the timeline so the client feels reassured that you're in control of the process. This email should set the tone, organized, confident, and excited to work with them. Reaffirm that their decision to work with you was the right one and remind them that you're just as committed to their success as they are. If your work requires the client to set up an account on a platform or provide specific assets, simplify this process as much as you can. Record a short video explaining exactly what they need to do or provide a step-by-step guide. You might even want to jump on a quick call with them and guide them through that sign-up process live so there's no guesswork involved on their end. The easier you make this initial step for them, the more they'll appreciate working with you. This attention to detail builds trust and shows them that you've anticipated their needs. Next, gather any client assets you'll need early. Don't wait until the last minute to ask for it. Whether it's login information or brand guidelines or other relevant materials, request them up front. This keeps the project moving smoothly and avoids bottlenecks later on. It also shows that you're proactive and prepared, which further strengthens their confidence in you. Next, schedule the first project review or check-in meeting. This is crucial because it gives both you and the client something to look forward to, and it creates accountability on your end so you get started immediately. Having a clear first milestone prevents the project from drifting and keeps momentum strong from the outset. It's also a good idea to ask for any additional information they think might be relevant. Sometimes the client can have extra context or details that didn't come up in the initial conversation. By asking for this up front, you ensure that there are no surprises later and it shows that you're thorough in your approach. Finally, reaffirm to the client that they've made a great decision and let them know that you're excited to work with them. This is such an important psychological step. When the client feels reassured and excited, they'll be more cooperative, more engaged, and more enthusiastic about the entire project. It's also a chance to align your energies and set the foundation for a positive, collaborative working relationship. The Effortless Embarkation is all about setting the stage for a smooth, successful project. When you onboard a client with clarity, professionalism, and enthusiasm, they feel confident about their choice, and that confidence will carry through every stage of your work together. With onboarding complete, it's time to dive into the project itself and start building. And that's what we'll cover next. Step 20 is building the project. So now that the onboarding is complete and the client feels confident and excited to work with you, it's time to dive into the actual work. Now, this is where you begin to build the project, following a clear, structured path to ensure delivery on the promises you've made. The key to success here is organization, execution, and maintaining momentum. This is your chart of completion, and this is the blueprint that guides the projects you do from start to finish. So first, you should have a blueprint that defines how each project should progress. You need to think of this as your value delivery blueprint. You're not just managing tasks, you've created a roadmap that ensures every project progresses in a smooth and methodical fashion and delivers value at as many stages as possible. Once the plan is in place, begin building the project according to the agreed upon scope. So you need to stick closely to what was outlined in your scope of work. Avoid scope creep at all costs. Scope creep is when additional tasks or requirements are added to the project by the client after it has started, and it often without adjusting the timeline or cost. Now, this is a common issue and it can derail even the best projects. So you need to stay focused on what was agreed upon. And if new requests come in, you need to make sure that they're accounted for in terms of budget and scope. Now, as a slight caveat, if you've priced the project high enough, there is slight wriggle room in terms of scope, but only under certain conditions. For example, in my scope of work contract, I have a line that gives me the freedom to add any additional minor features requested by the client, provided that they are deemed reasonable and feasible within the scope by the developer. This positions me as the sole arbiter when it comes to scope adjustments and saves a lot of headaches down the track. So for small changes to the scope that you're okay with, the original scope and invoices remain the same. But if the client requests something that's well outside the agreed upon scope and you don't mind implementing it, you do need to charge for it, and you need to be upfront and clear about this. Explain that additional work requires additional compensation and stick to your pricing structure. Don't let fear of upsetting the client lead to scope creep or underpricing. They'll respect you for maintaining your own boundaries, and it sets a precedent that you're serious about delivering value without bending over backwards or compromising on your time. Now back to the actual delivery of the project. As you work through the project, try to keep progress updates asynchronous wherever possible. This means minimizing unnecessary meetings and opting for efficient, documented updates instead. Whether it's via email, a quick Loom video, or a shared document, keeping updates asynchronous ensures that both you and the client can stay on the same page without constantly interrupting the workflow. This also empowers the client to review progress on their own time, reducing bottlenecks. And if there's something you need feedback on, give them a deadline. This deadline should be outlined in your original scope of work, and it's really important to understand that if the client doesn't provide feedback in the agreed upon timeframe, you need to stop work immediately. This is a non-negotiable, and it prevents you from wasting time on assumptions or working on projects where the client ghosts you even after they've paid the initial invoice. This also gives the client a sense of accountability in the process and ensures that the project timeline stays on track without unnecessary delays. Set clear expectations from the beginning so they understand their role in keeping things moving smoothly. The chart of completion is your guide to delivering with precision and professionalism. Every step is about staying organized, keeping the client informed, and maintaining momentum. When you stick to this blueprint, you'll not only meet expectations, but often exceed them. And finally, once the project is complete, it's time to schedule your final handover call. So that's what we're covering next. Step 21 is delivering the project and gathering referrals and testimonials. Now, at this point, you've successfully navigated the project from the onboarding to the completion, and now it's time to finish strong by delivering the final product in a way that not only delights your client, but also sets the stage for future opportunities. This is where ripples of renown come into play, delivering value that leaves a lasting impression while also leveraging that success to gather referrals, testimonials, and possible future work. First, once you've completed the project, film a comprehensive video of the entire deliverable for internal purposes. This video is a form of insurance. It's a record of what was delivered in case any questions or concerns arise in the future. Make it long, make it in depth, film every single nook and cranny of your deliverable, because this will save your ass more than you can possibly imagine. So you need to narrate this as you go, explaining everything to your future self. So you need to store this somewhere safe so you can reference it whenever you need. Next, create a set of step-by-step guides and videos that explain exactly how everything works. This is a great way to over-deliver and ensure your client feels supported even after the project is officially handed over. Now, these guidelines will help them navigate their own solution with ease and make the transition as smooth as possible. By offering these resources, you're showing that you're not just handing off a project, you're empowering them to use it effectively. Now, before transferring any assets or materials to the client, you need to ensure you've received that final 50% payment. This is critical. Never transfer ownership of the work or deliverables until you've secured full payment. This reinforces that you value your work and you expect the client to honor their commitment. It's a professional standard that ensures you're both on the same page. After the project is complete and the final payment is secured, offer an additional week of free technical support, tweaks, or bug fixes. This adds a layer of service and shows that you stand by your work and are committed to ensuring everything runs smoothly. And it's a small gesture, but it leaves a big impression. Clients appreciate knowing that you're there to support them after the main work is done, and this can often lead to repeat business or additional projects. And on that note, if they come to you down the track with an issue that is a direct result of you making a mistake or leaving something out of the scope, it's your responsibility to correct this free of charge because you didn't deliver what you promised, and it's your duty to fix it. Now, in addition to your email that contains all of the above, you'll want to get on a final call with the client to take them through your solution and answer any questions that they might have. This call should actually feel like a bit of a celebration, a moment where you can both reflect on the success of the project and confirm that everything meets or exceeds their expectations. Use this opportunity to ensure they're fully satisfied and take the time to address any last-minute details or clarifications. At the end of the call, when the client is still experiencing the high of a successful project, ask them for referrals, testimonials, or additional work. Timing is key. When the client is happy and excited about the work you've delivered, they're much more likely to provide glowing feedback and recommend you to others. Be direct but professional. If you know of anyone else that could benefit from the work that we've done here, I'd appreciate any referrals. And for the testimonial, make it easy for them. Ask specific questions that guide them to share detailed or meaningful feedback about their experience, and then ask them if they're okay with you adding it to your list of testimonials. And in terms of additional work, you should come up with a few interesting ideas for the next phase or side projects that might interest them. Ask them if they'd like to hear those ideas on the call, and if they like what they hear, let them know that you'll shoot over a scope of work shortly that explains everything in better detail. And don't forget, now is also the perfect time to offer a maintenance or support package that generates recurring revenue, so you can get creative with your offers here. So in summary, these referrals and testimonials will serve as ripples of renown. They'll amplify your reputation, create new opportunities, and establish you as a trusted expert in your field. Each successful project doesn't just end when the deliverable is handed over. It creates ripples that expand your reach, attract new clients, and build long-term credibility. By delivering excellence, going above and beyond, and then capitalizing on that success with referrals and testimonials and new work, you create a lasting impact that fuels your future growth. Now it's time to zoom out and understand what it takes to shift from a freelancer who's overworked and strapped for time to an entrepreneur who's built a fireproof business that runs like a well-oiled machine with or without them. So let's get on to that. Step number 6 is about evolving every day through systemization, automation, and true mastery. Step 22 is codifying and refining your processes. So now that you've successfully completed some projects, you've gathered some referrals, and you've created those ripples of renown, you'll have some cash in the bank and a bit of breathing space. This is when it's time to take a quick step back and focus on one of the most important things for long-term growth, and that is systemizing and refining your processes. This is the heart of the prosperity playbook, documenting, optimizing, and codifying everything you do so the business runs smoothly, efficiently, and eventually without needing you to be involved in every single detail. The best place to start is by imagining a scenario. You need to imagine that your business has been acquired and you're required to hand over a step-by-step guide that explains exactly how everything works. What would that guide look like? What would it contain? If the new owner couldn't talk to you ever again, would they have everything they need to run the business without a hitch? Could they just plug in their staff and hit the ground running without having to figure out how everything works? This is the playbook you're building. So the idea here is to create a system so well refined that anyone could step in and steer the ship and understand how to keep the engine running smoothly. It's about turning your business into a repeatable, scalable machine. To get started, create what I've called an Everest org chart. This is a detailed map of all the roles, responsibilities, and processes within your business. Each role has responsibilities, and each responsibility has processes that need to be carried out. Even if you're a solo entrepreneur right now, you need to define the roles you play, the responsibilities you have, and the processes that fall under those responsibilities. The goal is to get clarity on how your business operates day to day, who does what, and what processes are essential to keep things running smoothly. If you've created the Everest org chart correctly, you'll end up with a chart that looks like a mountain. The role of owner is at the top, and everything spreads out downward from that point. Your goal is to climb that mountain so the only roles and responsibilities you have left are those at the peak. But the only way to do that is if you get rid of whatever's tying you to the bottom of that mountain. And the only way you can do that is by defining exactly what you're doing down there at a granular level. So you can automate it, eliminate it, or delegate it. So once you've mapped out your Everest org chart, you'll have a clear idea of the inner workings of your business. And with that clarity, you can then start to unburden yourself, to lighten the load, and to make your way to the top. Start by observing and recording and documenting the processes that keep the machine humming. What are your day-to-day tasks? What tools do you use? How do you use them? How do you handle specific challenges? By documenting all of this, you're creating a safeguard for your business, ensuring that if someone steps away, even if it's yourself, others can step in and the business won't stop. You're also going to make it 1,000 times easier to hire people because they'll have a step-by-step guide that explains exactly what their responsibilities are and how to go about fulfilling them. Once you've codified how a task or process should be done or handled, you need to enter a testing and tweaking phase for that particular process. This is where you ask another staff member or even a close family friend or family member to attempt to carry out the process. The key here is to shut your mouth. You need to let them follow it step by step and see how they fare. If they get stuck somewhere or something is unclear, do not help them. You need to go away, refine and update the process, and then hand it back to them and ask them to continue or to try again. After a few of these test and tweak loops, you'll have an SOP that is bulletproof, that does not need your input, and that's when you know you've systemized that aspect of the business properly. And then once you've refined your processes, you need to compile all of this into a prosperity playbook. This isn't just a document, this is a living, breathing asset for your business. It should contain detailed instructions for every key task, role, and responsibility within your company. From onboarding clients to project management to billing, everything should be codified in a way that's easy to follow. This playbook becomes the foundation of your business, allowing you to scale, train new team members, or even sell the business down the road. By doing this, you're turning your business into something bigger than just you. You're turning it into a true asset that can be sold, scaled, or operated remotely with no stress. You create freedom for yourself because your business doesn't rely on you being there every second of the day. This is when you achieve true freelancing freedom. This playbook becomes your secret weapon, allowing you to focus on growth, creativity, and the bigger picture instead of being bogged down by daily operations. So the Prosperity Playbook is about creating a business that's bulletproof, scalable, and efficient. And once you've built this foundation, you can focus on expanding, innovating, and living the life of freedom you've always wanted. In the next module, we'll take this playbook and look for specific areas we can streamline, automate, and delegate so we can begin making our way up that mountain. Step 23 is automating, delegating, and eliminating. So now that you've codified your processes in the Prosperity Playbook, it's time to start removing yourself from the roles and responsibilities that suck up all of your time, energy, and brain power so you can focus on what matters most. This is where you embrace the power of automation, delegation, and elimination, what I call mechanical mystique. First up is automation. You need to look at all of the processes you've documented in your playbook and identify the ones that can be automated. Think of repetitive tasks that eat up your time, whether it's sending follow-up emails, planning and creating content, scheduling meetings, or even certain aspects of project management itself. Tools like email automation platforms, CRMs, scheduling apps, and project management software can handle these tasks for you in a more efficient way than you're probably currently doing it. And if you're a low coder like myself, you can build a lot of these tools in software like Glide. The benefit of building it yourself is that whatever you build is completely tailored to you and your business, and it gives you the ability to tweak and upgrade your automations over time and integrate things like AI to take your productivity to the next level. But if you aren't a savvy low coder, you got to leverage what's already out there and it will still get you 90% of the way. So automation is your way of ensuring that things happen consistently without you needing to push every button. But the key here is to automate everything that should be automated. Some tasks require a human touch and those should never be fully automated. For example, if you're using AI to analyze the transcript of your Hippocratic sales call, you need to get it to summarize the call and identify the preliminary scope of work, but don't automatically send the scope of work or something like that until you've analyzed and tweaked it carefully. It's still taking a lot of the grunt work out of it, but it allows you to skip the manual labor involved in the review process. Next comes delegation. Any task you don't want to do that can't be automated should be delegated. Start by identifying tasks that are necessary but don't need your specific expertise to get done. These could be administrative duties, prospecting for leads, social media management, or parts of your daily operations that can and should be handled by others. If you don't already have a team, consider hiring freelancers, contractors, or virtual assistants to handle these tasks. Now, delegation is about recognizing where your time and expertise are best spent and trusting others to take care of the rest. The key to effective delegation is clear communication and accountability. Use your playbook to guide your team so they understand exactly what's expected and how to deliver results that align with your standards. Now, here's an important distinction you need to be aware of. Simply telling someone to do a task that you don't want to do yourself isn't delegation, it's abdication. True intelligent delegation is equipping someone with the tools, systems, and information they need to get the job done properly. This is why your prosperity playbook is so important. And here's the final component of mechanical mystique: eliminating everything that isn't driving value. You need to take a hard look at your daily tasks and workflows and ask yourself, do I really need to be doing this? Is this genuinely moving the business forward? Or do I just like feeling busy and not having to deal with the tasks I've been avoiding? See, sometimes we hold on to tasks out of a habit or a sense of obligation, but it's often because we just like to feel busy. And feeling busy is not the goal. Being productive and generating momentum is. So if something isn't moving the needle for your business, you need to eliminate it. The fewer distractions and unnecessary tasks, the more you can focus on what truly matters: growing your business, delivering value to clients, and improving your craft. Now, as you automate, delegate, and eliminate, you'll notice something powerful happening. Your business will start to run more efficiently with less of your involvement. This is the essence of mechanical mystique, the ability to create a seamless, scalable machine that allows you to step back from the day-to-day grind and focus on the bigger picture. You'll gain more time, energy, and freedom. And don't forget, your playbook should always reflect the most efficient version of your business. So once you've integrated automation and eliminated what no longer needed, you need to update your prosperity playbook with these new systems and processes. So with your business now running like a well-oiled machine, you're free to focus on strategic growth, creative innovation, or just enjoying the fruits of your labor. But in my opinion, this is the perfect time to develop true mastery in your craft. So let's move on to that. Step 24 is developing true mastery in your craft. Now that your business is running smoothly with automation and delegation and you've eliminated the unnecessary, it's time to focus on what truly leads to long-term success and ultimately fulfillment. And that's developing true mastery of your craft. This is the essence of Arcane Ascension, the pursuit of deep, almost mystical mastery over what you do. It's about pushing yourself beyond competence, beyond expertise, to the level of unconscious mastery where your skills become second nature. Here's when you need to push your abilities to the limit. Do not be afraid to fail. Mastery is born from failure. The more you experiment, the more you'll discover your strengths and your weaknesses. Every failure is an opportunity to learn more and improve, and we should only ever dwell on our mistakes until we extract a lesson from it. Embrace failure as a part of the process. It's where the real growth happens. Set up challenges for yourself that push yourself beyond the comfort zone, whether that's a difficult project, learning a new tool, or tackling a problem you've never faced before. Mastery is forged in these moments of discomfort and challenge. And you need to stay laser focused on your craft, learning it inside and out. See, at this stage, it's about going deep, not wide. You've chosen your Narnian niche, and now it's time to become the undisputed expert in that space. Mastery requires understanding your craft at a level where you not only know how things work, but why they work. Dive into the nuances, refine your process, and constantly look for ways to improve. This deep dive is what separates true masters from those who are simply good. Now, part of developing mastery is also about learning the limitations of your platforms or tools. When you understand the boundaries of what you're working with, you can start to develop out-of-the-box solutions. Mastery isn't just about following the rules, it's about knowing when and how to break them. That's where true innovation happens. And as you push these boundaries, you'll create new methods, strategies, and techniques that others haven't even thought of. This is where you become not just a master of your craft, but an innovator within it. It's also a good idea to seek out mentors and coaches who've already achieved success in your field, because even though you'll one day eclipse them in terms of mastery, learning from them now can accelerate your growth like you wouldn't believe. They can show you what works, what doesn't, and how to overcome challenges you haven't encountered yet. So don't be afraid to establish these relationships, because surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to rise to the next level will help you get there faster. And finally, perhaps most importantly, you need to stay focused on inputs, not outputs. Success is the byproduct of consistent, focused effort. Don't get overly obsessed with outcomes. Focus on improving your inputs every single day. Whether it's the number of hours you're putting into learning, helping, creating, or delivering, the key to success is persistence and momentum. The results will naturally follow as long as you stay committed to the process. This journey to Arcane Ascension is ongoing. It's a continuous process of learning, refining, failing, and growing. The more you commit to it, the more you'll stand out as an undisputed authority in your field. Mastery isn't about something you achieve once. It's about something you cultivate every day. A lifelong pursuit of excellence that leads to total fulfillment and financial abundance. So that's the map. But before you load up on caffeine and start your journey alone, I want to show you something I've been working on in secret for the past 6 months. This is Low Code Masters, a brand new community I've launched to give you a master's level education in low code, automations, and AI, and to help you become a master of your own destiny. Inside, you'll get access to every single asset and tool I mentioned in the Freelancing Freedom course you just watched. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. In AI prompts, you'll learn how to leverage the power of AI with insanely powerful prompts and guidelines. In APIs, you'll be able to learn how to create your own free self-hosted APIs for things like PDF generation, web scraping, and more. In automations, you'll be given access to a library of powerful business automations and systems that you can literally copy and paste to install into your business. In Chrome extensions, you'll learn how to create your own extensions and be able to download a selection of private, custom-built extensions that you can install for free to take your productivity, sales, and daily operations to a whole new level. In Glide, you'll be given access to pixel-perfect, highly polished Glide templates, plugins, JavaScript snippets, and CSS code snippets that can drastically expand the capabilities and design of Glide. In Playbook, you'll learn how to close more deals with email templates, call scripts, contracts, blueprints, and more. For example, here's just one of the email templates in our library. This one in particular shows you exactly what to write when handing over your project. But we have email templates that cover almost every situation you can imagine, from high converting cold emails to asking for referrals and everything in between. In Tools, you'll be able to see all of the apps, tools, and hardware I use, as well as other low coders on a daily basis to skyrocket your productivity and save hours of tedious work. And then we have the Vault, which is a video archive of all the workshops, Q&As, and live tech support sessions that you'll have access to. And finally, we'll have a selection of premium courses that will be released over time. So if you want to load up on supplies and join a fellowship of like-minded, driven individuals that can help you unlock life-changing wealth with low-code tools, automations, and AI, click the link in the description and enroll now. Because this group is brand new and I'm still uploading all of the content I've created, I'm going to give the first 50 people to join a lifetime discount. As soon as we hit 50 people, the price is going up. But regardless of which path you take, I genuinely wish you the best, and I'll see you soon.